today, Pat and I came in about, 6 o'clock this morning, Pat?
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting here and we were listening to audio that drove both of us out of our ever-loving mind. It is Barack Obama on gun control. And here's what he said over the weekend.
And yet Congress still hasn't done anything to prevent what happened to them from happening to other families. 3 years ago, a bipartisan common sense bill would have required background checks for virtually everyone who buys a gun. Keep in mind, there's a policy that is supported by some 90% of the American people. It was supported by a majority of NRA households. But the gun lobby mobilized against it, and the Senate blocked it. Since then, tens of thousands of our fellow Americans have been mowed down by gun violence. Tens of thousands.
Okay.
Wait.
He's obviously.
Hang on.
There's so much here.
Hang on.
That's not the way we heard it this morning.
I want to unleash Pat and have him express the way he expressed to me this morning what he was feeling.
It was a lot like I just did, wasn't it? Okay, there's an awful lot here.
No,
we
it's
need
not.
To consider.
No,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, let's start over and go over this piece by piece then.
Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay.
And yet Congress still hasn't done anything to prevent what happened to them from happening to other families. 3 years ago, a bipartisan common sense bill would have required
Okay, listen to the language here.
Here it comes.
A bipartisan common sense bill. These time tested, these focus group approved little phrases that he uses that mean absolutely nothing. If you get one Republican on board with this, it's bipartisan, and it's something everybody did once want, and now I can't get anybody on board with this. And then the common sense thing. It's only common sense to this Marxist. It's not common sense to anybody who loves the Constitution. It's not. And plus, we already have all of these things. We have the gun checks.
He hasn't even started yet. He hasn't even started yet.
Really
This is 6 o'clock this morning.
background checks for virtually everyone who buys a gun.
Which we already have.
Keep in mind, there's a policy that is supported by some 90% of the American people.
And again,
Since when does he ever? Did he ever talk during the health care? This is a policy, by the way, that is opposed by over 70% of the American people. Since when does he ever care about polls and the American people? This one time on something that they spin this way, they can get 90% of the American people, and then he wants to quote it. It's mind-numbing.
and of course, people agree with that, and we already have it, as you point out.
We
So
already
I-
have
I
it.
agree with
Yeah,
it.
that's why so many people
common
agree
sense
with it.
background checks. We already have
that, and we have them.
Yes, we
have
have it.
It was supported by a majority of NRA households.
And the
But the gun lobby mobilized against it, and the Senate blocked it.
What gun lobby? If the NRA didn't the NRA back, they were okay with it.
Yeah.
I mean, and so now all of a sudden the gun lobby opposed it and shut it down.
He wanted to expand it, and of course, that's not
Yes,
the way the
right.
90% question
Correct.
was framed. It was a question of,
Correct.
do you think there should be background
Correct.
checks?
He always does this. He
Yes.
sets up these straw man arguments that he then sets on fire, and nobody is saying what he said.
Do you hear it in his voice?
There's tension.
There's tension.
There's a tad little bit of
Okay.
tension. I
And there
detect.
was much more tension.
Oh, my gosh.
Are you done, Pat?
No,
no. Go ahead. Get
Since
going.
then, tens of thousands of our fellow Americans have been mowed down by gun violence. Tens of thousands.
Yeah, he's using all gun crime here. All gun crime. He's not even talking about the mass murders, the multiple shootings now that brought up this gun control situation in the first place.
Which, by the way, the Washington Post said none of them would have been prevented by his law. None of them.
Right.
Zero.
And the thing is, now he's talking about the gun violence in Chicago and Baltimore and Washington, D.C. and New Orleans and every other city where Democrats are in control, and so are the toughest gun laws in the country.
Listen how you have tempered yourself. He really has. Jeffy, am I lying?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
yes.
no, he is so tempered now.
Each time we're told that common sense reforms like background checks might not have stopped the last massacre or the one before that, so we shouldn't do anything.
Yeah, might not. 100%
Would not.
Would not. Has not. No examples of it working.
And
ever.
it's interesting because they're not told that. They're asked, hey, would that have stopped it? Well, no, but we got to do something. No, do the right thing.
There we go.
Do the right thing.
Now we're starting to now.
We know we can't stop every act of violence, but what if we tried to stop even one? What if Congress did something, anything to protect our kids from gun violence.
Can you believe that desperation? That unbelievable. He's got nowhere to go. Just do something.
Anything. And again, the one group of people that are prevented from doing something, anything, is Congress. There is actually an amendment to our Constitution that prevents them from doing something, anything. That is actually the foundational part of our government.
It's why we have.
Says you can't do something, anything about this one topic.
So, let me draw a point and conclusion. This is the time of the mighty, of the giants. This is the time, and you have to make a choice on who you're going to be, and you will slide into mousedom, you will slide into monsterdom, or you will work hard to be one of the mighty. Which will you be? And we all have to make this choice. And today, so Pat, I'm
feeling monstrous.
Yeah,
Glenn.
I know.
I'm feeling monstrous.
Pat, I came in today, and Pat immediately started in on Barack Obama, and it was both very, very satisfying to hear. But it was also really dangerous, quite honestly. We're playing now with fire, and people have to understand this is the time that I have been warning about for a long time, and we're playing with fire. And if you want to survive this, you cannot feed into the anger. Now, how do you get through that? I don't know. I've never lived in anything like this before. None of us have. Even the greatest generation didn't live like this. They weren't turning on all of us. The government wasn't turning on us. They turned on the Japanese, but they did not turn on the mass population. People didn't feel like their country was being ripped out of their hands.